Hi everyone. So about a week ago, I reviewed my copy of the James Bond collection on Blu-ray. It had pretty much all the James Bond films from the very first Doctor No right up until I think it's Spectre. I'm pretty sure. It didn't include Never Say Never Again, and it also didn't have the the other version of On Her Majesty's Secret Service that wasn't actually canon, strictly, so I think that wasn't included. But it didn't include the most recent movie, Daniel Craig's final appearance as Bond, No Time to Die. That's what I'd like to talk about here. I've got the two disc Blu-ray version. It says it's a collector's edition. Although the HD transfer is fantastic, and you do get a few solid features, and although it is a two-disc release, I personally, on the bonus disc, would have liked some more in-depth features, specifically more cast interviews and cast commentaries. But I'll go over what you do get a little bit later. I don't want to dwell too much on plot because you know what it's like when you go to the cinema and you haven't seen a movie, and there's always someone either sitting in front of you or behind you that's seen the entire plot, and they talk through almost every single scene before it happens, so your enjoyment is cancelled. So I don't want to dwell too much on plot to spoil it for anyone that hasn't seen No Time to Die yet. If you're a die-hard Bond film, then you will have seen it. I want to talk a lot about the cast members, and I want to specifically address Daniel Craig's Bond because unlike previous actors that portrayed the role, one thing that I really commend him on his time to role is his five Bond appearances. They've all had interconnecting story arc. They've all had the connections through Spectre, his relationship with his Judy Dench, and their relationship, and when she bowed out in Spectre, that was just so powerful and emotive. And I thought actually that you couldn't possibly get any more of an emotional ending to a Bond movie than that. Boy, was I wrong. As I say, we don't want to dwell too much on plot, but this is Daniel Craig's last outing as Bond, and they went to a place with the ending of the movie that I really didn't think they were going to go, but in connection with his story arc, I can kind of see why they went where they did. Um, the emphasis on family through not only his experiences and the people that he cares about, but also through his team. That is very prevalent. All I will say on plot really is to give a bare synopsis to anyone that hasn't seen it yet. Basically, at the start of the story, Bond is retired. He's enjoying retirement. He's now a commander, and the designation of 007 has been given to a new operative. She is absolutely superb. I believe her character's called Naomi. A lot of the cast members in this have got, there's a few of them that have got difficult sounding names, so I can't actually pronounce them, so please forgive me for that. But I would like to touch on a few of them. Ben Whishaw, who recently became Q in the last couple of films. I really like him. He reminds me a little bit of Richard Ayoade in terms of looks. You almost expect him to start leading people around the Crystal Maze. I think he's great. You've got Ralph Fiennes as the new M. I think his M, he's trying to go back to the more, if you like, traditional M after Dame Judi Dench. They wanted a bit of a departure because she has such a presence and such a commanding emotional role as M and the connection with Bond. I think they wanted to make the new M a little bit more understated, and the new M, he's there to really direct Bond and his other operatives when he needs to, but because of everything that's gone before, he steps back a little bit, which is understandable. There is a lovely moment. They go into a hall where there's portraits of all the previous M's across the walls, and on the back wall you see a painting of Dame Judi Dench herself as the last M. I thought that was a really beautiful touch. Rami Malek, who's the main villain in this, I know a lot of people say they can't see him in any other role except the great Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. I have to say, though, he is good as the villain in this. He develops a new technology to basically wreak havoc on the world in the form of little robotic, they're called nanobots. You're basically almost invisible to the eye, and they can get under your skin and connect not only to your DNA but to the DNA of people that you love and kill and attack people that way, and it endangers millions. So that's one of the main threats. The action sequences obviously are superb, particularly the one near to the beginning where Bond's jumping over the bridge and he's on the wire after explosions, and people have been trying to take him out from Spectre and all the rest of it. He does come into contact with an old enemy during the film as well, and there's an interrogation scene with him and his old enemy that I won't go into the identity of, because again, I don't want to spoil things if you've not seen it, but it does remind me a little bit of interrogation straight from Silence of the Lambs. I am wondering very much, as are a lot of fans, given how the movie does end, how on earth you go forward with the franchise now. The ending leaves me with more questions than answers, which in a way is a probably good thing to do. But you are given another question at the end because, as always, if you sit through the credits, as I was waiting for any extra scene, you're met with then a blank screen, silence, and then the caption of James Bond will return. The question is, how and who and in what context? There have been rumours that they're going to go back to a past time, and maybe that the new Bond is going to be set in a new era. There's also rumours of spin-off TV series and all sorts of things. There's so many things they can do with the franchise. But how exactly they're going to go forward with that, we don't know at this point. I know Barbara Broccarelli, I think her name is, who is one of the people in charge of the franchise. She has said the only thing for certain is that the new Bond is not going to be a woman. So we can know that for certain. In terms of the features that you get on the Blu-ray, you get a design feature, you get a mini feature on the action of Bond. those two are the main ones, to be fair. The design and the action of the stunts. You get a global journey, which is talking about the different locations in the film. And Bond locations, really, for me, it's quite special if you go through all the films, because especially in the early films, a lot of the locations were glamorous and places that we would never travel to. So a lot of the exotic locations and stuff, the Bond films are the only way that we would ever see these places or get there. So that's quite important. You've got all the gadgetry. Obviously, you've got the Aston Martin car. There are a lot of nods back to previous films in the franchise, and I do love at the end the song Louis Armstrong, "We Have All the Time in the World," that permeates through the whole film, if you like. And in essence, it's supposed to be the actual Bond theme because it connects to a lot of the other films. As to how I think the franchise is going to go forward, part of me, I'm unsure. Another part of me wishes in a way that that could be the final film, because I think it's very difficult with the actual character of Bond to go further after what happened, whether they're just going to let someone inherit the name, just like someone else inherited the 007 label in the film. I don't know whether that's the way they're going to go, or whether they're going to come up with a completely new, different backstory. Whether we go forward with James's wife and daughter, possibly, or whether the other characters in the movie, like, for example, Q, whether we have a spin-off with him or anything else. I mean, they could do literally anything. That's one thing I would be very interested to hear in comments. Your thoughts, particularly if you're Bond fans, on how you think the franchise should proceed now. And if you're only just seeing the film recently, please let me know what you think of it. What you think of how the story connected with Daniel Craig's other Bond performances, whether you think he ranks up there as one of the very best Bonds, or whether for you, one of the other actors that previously had the role still sits atop of being the best. Well, I know it's quite a passionate subject among fans. As to my overall thoughts on the film, I think it is fantastic achievement when you consider as well that it had to go through several different directors. It was delayed and pushed back several times because of the pandemic, and indeed it was the first major film when cinemas reopened that a lot of cinemas were really banking on to get people back in, and it was just pushed back and pushed back. And it cost a lot of people within the industry a lot of money. And there was a lot of disappointment. But how lucky we are that it finally came out, that Daniel Craig absolutely went all out with his performance. He left literally everything out in the field. He couldn't have done any more. He was absolutely fantastic as Bond. Certainly one of the best. Whether I think he's the best, he's definitely one of my top three. I'd say one of my top three. But I would be very interested to hear all your thoughts, as I said, on all those topics connected with this film and all the others in the comments. Meantime, I will be back with you on Friday for another video. This time I'll be focusing on the 1970s British popular comedy, The Good Life, starring Richard Briers, Penelope Keith, Felicity Kendall, and Paul Edrington. So I'll see you for that on Friday at 6 o'clock. Take care. Bye bye.